All right, thanks, guys. We went 4-1 yesterday in our premium picks on patreon.com/Brock Page. And that's good for 80% on a Monday. Good way to start off the week. Link for that site is in the description section below. Once again, that is patreon.com/Brock Page. Now, we got ourselves a very nice slate of college basketball action, some marquee matchups here today, so let's go ahead and get into them. Beginning with Wichita State taking on USF, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off at I believe it's the Yuengling Arena, the Yuengling Center. But oddly enough, Yuengling was founded in Pottsville, Pennsylvania, back in the 1800s. And there's a Yuengling Center down in Florida. Actually, I think there's a massive distribution center near Tampa. But anyway, regardless of that, Wichita State, the Shockers, they are -4, total at 125.5. We did see a 1-point fade of Wichita State and a movement upward on the total. The Shockers open as the 5-point favorite, down to -4. Total open 125, up to 125 and a hook. 69% are leaning Wichita State, 70% shaded toward the over. USF, they've lost their last 3 straight games. They're also just 2-6 straight up in their last 8. They lost to UCF, ECU, and SMU during that stretch. They're also averaging just 63 points per contest, and they're shooting just 41% from the field. Now, defensively, their opponents are shooting 46% from the field against them. They're also shooting 36% from downtown. Certainly some defensive struggles for this South Florida squad. Now, Wichita State on the other side, winners of 8 out of their last 10. They're also 15-3 straight up overall for the year. Victories over the likes of Mississippi, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State. Wichita State ranks in the top 35 in the nation in offensive rebounding. They're averaging 75 points per contest. Eric Stevenson, 13-5-3 thus far in the year. 2 steals on average per game as well. Jamarius Burton, 11-4-4 for him. And Tyson Etienne, 10 points a game, 2 steals for the Shockers. Wichita State also ranks in the top 35 in defensive field goal percentage in the nation. They're giving up just 64 points per contest. Now, total-wise, the Shockers are 60% to the under in their last 5. USF 5-2 to the under in their last 7. The Bulls are also 70% to the under at home. I'm going to lean Wichita State -4 and the under 125.5 in that contest. Next matchup. It is going to be Florida taking on LSU, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off in that game. The Tigers are -2.5, total at 143 and a hook. We saw a 0.5 point move toward LSU and movement downward on the total. The Tigers open as the 2-point favorite, up to -2.5. Total open 146, down to 143 and a hook. 56% are leaning LSU. 66% are shaded toward the under. Now, the Tigers are 9-1 straight up at home this year. They're right in the middle of a 6-game winning streak as well. Victories over Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Arkansas during that stretch. The Tigers rank the top 20 in the nation in scoring, top 20 in offensive field goal percentage. They're averaging 80 points per contest. They're also shooting 48.1% from the field. This LSU squad is also ranking in the top 30 in offensive rebounding in the country. Skylar Mays, 16-5-3. He's also averaging 2 steals per contest. Emmett Williams, 13 points a game, 7 rebounds for him, and 2 blocks. And Darius Days, 12 points a game, 8 rebounds for LSU. The Tigers, they're not just all offense. They get it done on the defensive side of things as well. They're holding their opponents to just 40% from the field. Meanwhile, offensively, they are shooting 49% from the field on their home court. Now, the Gators on the other side, losers of 3 out of their last 4 on the road. They're also just 1-3 against the spread as the official road team as well. They're averaging just 69 points per contest when traveling. Florida is 70% to the over in their last 10. LSU 4-1 to the over in their last 5 themselves. I'm going to lean LSU -2.5 and the over 143.5 in that contest. Next game, Kansas State taking on Kansas, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The Jayhawks are -15, total at 126. We saw a 1.5 point fade of Kansas and movement downward on the total. The Jayhawks opened 16.5, down to -15. Total open 126.5 down to 126 flat. 61% are leaning Kansas, 64% shaded toward the over. The Jayhawks have won 8 out of their last 10. Victories over the likes of Texas, Oklahoma, and West Virginia during that stretch. Kansas ranks in the top 10 in offensive field goal percentage. They're averaging 76 points per contest. Now, K-State, on the other side, losers of 7 out of their last 10 themselves. They're averaging just 65 points per contest. K-State's 3-2 to the under in their last 5. The Jayhawks 7-0 to the under in their last 7 straight. I'm going to lean Kansas Jayhawks minus 15 and the under 126 in that game. Before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the show. Got some lines and personal leans out for Tuesday's college basketball action, but before we dive into some more of that, I just want to quickly remind you once again to at least consider checking out my website at patreon.com/BrockPage, where we do daily premium sports picks on that site beginning at just $1.99 per month. We have a bunch of different memberships, tiers, and packages that you can subscribe to. Now, we're currently 4-1. We went 4-1 yesterday in our premium picks on that website yesterday. That is good for 80% on that Monday. We're also 7-3 with a push in our last 11 daily best plays on that site. You might be wondering, well, why would I buy a package from you when you're giving me all the picks for free here on YouTube? And that's certainly a great thought. That's a great suggestion. And you're exactly right. I give away free picks here on YouTube in hopes that you would at least consider checking out my website, clicking the link. Consider it a big commercial, what I'm doing here on YouTube. But really, the problem with me handicapping every single game on the board side and total is that if you were to bet your hard-earned money on every single game side and total, you're guaranteed to lose your money in the long run. And as a matter of fact, you're probably going to end up losing your money in the short run as well. It's just way too many games. The more games you bet like that, if you bet an entire slate of games, the math becomes aggressively against you. The books are way too smart. They're way too sharp. The math is the math is already aggressively against you to begin with. So if you go ahead and bet every single game on the board, you're just guaranteeing yourself failure. So what I do on Patreon, I make life a lot easier for you. I narrow it down to just 3 to 4 premium picks per day. I don't do just one pick per day and maybe take a day or two off. I don't bet like that. That's boring. I bet 3 to 4 games a day, sometimes a little bit more than that. But I narrow it down to 3 to 4 premium picks per day for you. They're high percentage picks, games that I personally have action on. And I'll tell you this much, my current Patreon record is a whole lot better than it is here on YouTube, handicapping every single game on the board, throwing darts. So check out my current record. You can access that for free. It's right on my homepage. Link for that site is in the description section below. Once again, that is patreon.com/BrockPage. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some more action here. Our next game is a Big East showdown. Butler taking on Nova, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Villanova open 3, up to -5. Total open 128, up to 129. 53% are leaning Nova, 63% on the over. Now, if you like Villanova in this matchup here, they failed to cover the point spread in their last 2 straight. They're also just 40% against the spread in their last 10. They failed to cover against the likes of UConn, Delaware, St. Joe's, and Penn. Meanwhile, Butler on the other side, winners of 7 out of their last 10. They also went 60% against the spread in their last 10 as well. Successful covers over the likes of Providence, Creighton, Purdue, Baylor, and Florida. Very impressive resume there. This Butler squad is shooting 47% from the field. Kamar Baldwin, 15-4-3 on the year. Sean McDermott, 12 points, 6 rebounds. McDermott is shooting 87% from the stripe. Now, Butler ranks in the top 5 in points allowed in the nation, top 3 in defensive rebounding. They're giving up just 57 points per contest. Their opponents are shooting just 37% from the field. Their opponents are also shooting just 27% from downtown. Now, total-wise, Butler is 60% to the under in their last 10. Villanova, 80% to the under in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean Butler +5 and the under 129 in that contest. Next game. Maryland taking on Northwestern, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The Terrapins open 7.5 down to -7. Total open 129.5 up to 130. 65% are leaning Maryland, 67% shaded toward the over. Maryland's 0-4 straight up as the official road team. They also failed to cover the point spread in 6 out of their last 9. Maryland is averaging just 65 points per contest on the road. They're also shooting just 38% from the field when traveling. Northwestern, on the other side, they successfully covered the point spread in 5 out of their last 8. Successful covers over the likes of Illinois, Indiana, and Minnesota during that stretch. They're giving up just 66 points per contest, and they're holding their opponents to just 41% from the field. Now, 3 out of Northwestern's last 4 games did stay under the number. They're also 7-2 to the under on their home court. Meanwhile, Maryland 5-0 to the under in their last 5, 12-6 to the under on the year. I'm going to lean Northwestern plus 7 and the under 130 in that contest. Next game, Georgia taking on Kentucky, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The Wildcats opened 11 up to minus 11.5. Total open 143 up to 144 and a hook. 57% are leaning Kentucky, 67% shaded toward the over. Kentucky 7-3 straight up in their last 10. Victories against Arkansas, Alabama, and this very Georgia squad during that stretch. Kentucky averages 75 points per contest. They're also shooting 46% from the field. If you're into historical trends, Kentucky is 10-0 straight up in their last 10 head-to-head matchups with the Bulldogs. Tyrese Maxey, 14-4-3 on the year. Emmanuel Quickley, 14 points a game, 4 rebounds for him. And Nick Richards, 13 points a game, 8 rebounds, and 2 blocks. We're looking at a Kentucky team who's giving up just 63 points per contest. They're also holding their opponents to just 38% from the field and 29% from downtown. Now, the Bulldogs on the other side, they've dropped 3 out of their last 4 games. They also failed to cover the point spread in 3 out of those 4. Georgia's just 2-5 straight up away from home this year, 2-5 against the spread in those 7 games away from home as well. They're giving up 81 points per contest as the road team. Meanwhile, their opponents are shooting 50% from the field in that category there. Now, Georgia, 3-1 of the over in their last 4, 11-6 of the over on the year. Meanwhile, 6 out of Kentucky's last 7 got over the number as well. I'm going to lean Kentucky Wildcats minus 11.5 and the over 144.5 in that contest. Next game, Illinois taking on Purdue, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The Boilermakers opened as the 5-point favorite, up to minus 5.5. Total open 123 up to 125 and a hook. Purdue's 8-1 straight up at home this year, 6-3 against the spread in those 9 home games. They rank in the top 10 in the country in points allowed, very good defensively. They also rank in the top 10 in defending the 3-ball. They're giving up just Purdue's giving up just 59 points per contest. Meanwhile, their opponents are shooting just 27% from downtown and 39% from the field. Purdue's also giving up just 56 points per contest on their home court. And, their opponents are shooting just 25% from downtown on Purdue's home court as well. Illinois, 0-2 against the spread in their last couple of games. They also failed to cover the point spread in 5 out of their last 8. They failed to cover against the likes of Northwestern, Missouri, and Old Dominion. This Illinois squad is averaging just 65 points per contest when traveling. They're also shooting just 23% from downtown. Illinois, 70% to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, 3 out of Purdue's last 4 games stayed under the number. They're also 12-6 to the under on the year. Give me Purdue minus 5.5 and the under 125 and a hook in that game. Next contest, Miami taking on Duke, 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off, Cameron Indoor Stadium. Duke open 18, down to minus 17.5. Total open 149, up to 149 and a hook. 57% are leaning Duke, 58% on the under. Duke has failed to cover the point spread in 3 out of their last 4 games. They're also shooting just 66% from the stripe this year. They're covering just 50% of their games at Cameron Indoor. Miami on the other side, 3-2 straight up as the road team. They also went 3-2 against the spread in those 5 games. They're averaging 73 points per contest. They're also shooting 36% from downtown. Chris Likes, 16 points a game for him. Dejan Vasilevich, 15 points a game for Miami, 4 rebounds. He's shooting 43% from downtown and 97% from the stripe. Once again, that's Dejan Vasiljevic. Total-wise, Miami, 60% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, Duke, 3-0 to the over in their last 3. 70% to the over at home. I'm going to lean Miami, plus 17.5, and the over 149 and a hook in that game. Next matchup, it is going to be Texas A&M taking on Missouri. 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Mizzou open 9.5 down to -9. Very hefty favorites here. Total open 121 up to 122 and a hook. 52% are leaning Mizzou, 72% on the over. If you like Mizzou in this matchup here, they have lost 4 out of their last 5 games. They also went just 1-4 against the spread in those 5. Missouri is averaging just 67 points per contest, and they're shooting just 42% from the field. Texas A&M on the other side, winners of 5 out of their last 8. Victories against Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, and Oregon State during that stretch. Texas A&M also is ranking in the top 15 in points allowed on the road in the country. They're also in the top 3 in defensive field goal percentage on the road as well. They're allowing just 62 points per contest when traveling. They're also holding their opponents to just 36% from the field in that same category. A couple more things to add here about Texas A&M. They rank in the top 25 in defending the 3 ball on the road, and they're in the top 30 in road defensive rebounding. Now, total-wise, we're looking at a Texas A&M squad. No surprise here, 11-5 to the under on the year. Meanwhile, Missouri 7-2 to the under on their home court. I'm going to lean Texas A&M plus 9 and the under 122.5 in that contest. Next game, St. John's taking on Marquette, 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Marquette opened -8 up to -8.5. Total open 150 up to 151. 52% are leaning St. John's, 54% on the under. Marquette 9-1 straight up at home this year, 70% against the spread in that same category. They rank in the top 10 in the country in shooting the 3 ball. They're also in the top 30 in offensive rebounding. Marquette averages 78 points per contest. They're shooting 40% from downtown. Meanwhile, defensively, they're holding their opponents to just 39% from the field and 29% from downtown. This Marquette offense is averaging 81 points per contest on their home court. St. John's on the other side, losers of 5 out of their last 6. They're also giving up 75 points per contest on average when traveling. Total-wise, St. John's 80% to the under in their last 10. Give me Marquette -8.5 and the under 151 in that game. Next and final matchup for the show, it is going to be Ole Miss taking on Tennessee, 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The Vols opened 7 up to -7.5. Total open 129 down to 128. 54% are leaning Tennessee, 81% on the over. Ole Miss, they're giving up just 67 points per contest. They're also holding their opponents to just 29% from beyond the arc. This Ole Miss squad ranks in the top 10 in the country in defending the 3 ball on the road. Meanwhile, Tennessee on the other side, they failed to cover the point spread in 4 out of their last 6. They're also just 30% against the spread in their last 10. Tennessee is just 3-7 against the spread at home this year. They're averaging 66 points per contest, and they're also averaging just 65 points per contest on their home court. They're shooting just 40% from the field on their home court as well. Tennessee 60% to the over in their last 5. Meanwhile, 2 out of Ole Miss's last 3 games got over the number as well. I'm going to lean Ole Miss plus 7.5 and the over 128 in that contest. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some shout-outs. Once again, brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage, where we went 4-1 yesterday in our premium picks on that website. Shout out to King Gino, Gambling Junkie, Daryl Cuddle, Dr. Vidensvig. Shout out to Wyclef Izaboki, Proline Master, Vernon Williard, Matt Kaiser, Stephen Lewis, Dom Hughes, Danny J, and last but certainly not least, got to give a shout out to Tommy Ochoa. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. But most importantly, guys, I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.